Welcome to That Was Us. Today, we will be discussing Season 1, Episode 1, our pilot. Rebecca goes into early labor. Randall finds his biological father. Kevin faces a personal and professional crisis. And Kate finds herself at a low point.
After years of fine print contracts and getting ripped off by overpriced wireless providers, if we've learned anything, it's that there's always a catch.
So when I heard that for a limited time, all Mint Mobile wireless plans are $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, I thought, okay, what's the catch? But after talking to them, it all made sense.
There isn't one. Mint Mobile's secret sauce is that they sell wireless service online. They don't have retail stores or salespeople. Instead, they deliver premium phone plans directly to you.
They also bring you the emotional support hotline directly to you. We have Mint Mobile. They give us unlimited minutes. Then we get to connect with our fans as much as we want to.
Now, why is it important to save on a mobile plan? That's like asking, why is it important to save money, period? Because it doesn't grow on trees. The more money in your pocket, the more things you can do for your life, for your family, for yourself. Don't throw your money away.
So you got an overpriced wireless plan? Your monthly bills freaking you out? Got unexpected overages because you didn't read the fine print? Well, now you can say bye-bye. Mint Mobile to the rescue with premium wireless plans for $15 a month.
All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number, along with all of your existing contacts.
Ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's limited time deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month.
To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/TWU. That's mintmobile.com/TWU.
Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/TWU. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabyte on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
Wow. 2016.
I just got a little tingly.
September 20th,
September 20th.
2016.
So let me say, first of all, fam,
Here we are.
how exciting is this?
Here we are.
That was us.
That was us, and we are here, and what a joy it is to be with you all. Truly,
Likewise.
truly.
Yeah.
I want to say, Chris was sort of like the dude who started this off in terms of wanting to do the podcast. So,
Yes.
Sully, mad kudos
Yes,
to you.
you spearheaded all of this.
Thank you for agreeing
Listen,
to come and do it together.
all you have to do is say yes. If they build it, they will come. I remember sitting in the table read and us all, meeting each other for the first time. I was like in a room with Mandy Moore. I'm like, OMG, OMG, YG.
Yeah, right.
This is crazy. Big crush on Mandy Moore for a long time. Now she my mama. But we're all sitting around and getting to and the vibe was just really excited. We're all at a particular age and had been in this career for a certain amount of time that there was a level of appreciation for being there.
Yes.
And the level of writing that we knew we had in front of us. You never know if it's going to catch on with the zeitgeist or what have you, but it was like, this was a damn good pilot.
Every
right?
single person at that table, when they read that episode of television, was like, this is the best episode of television
Yes.
I've ever read.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hands down. Then we read it, and I was like, oh, everybody's really good.
You felt that? Table reads are always like a really tricky thing for me.
Really?
Because I think in this particular case, everybody brought their A game, but that's not always the case,
Sure.
right? Like, haven't you been in situations where sometimes actors aren't able to be there and someone's like stepping in for them?
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's a weird level of people that are trying too hard, not trying enough, that like, it's hard sometimes to gauge if it works.
This was my first table read
What?
Like ever?
ever.
No.
Oh, wow.
What?
So I came in way too casual because I didn't understand the gravity of the situation. Like I didn't realize people got fired from table reads.
It's not the same thing as a comedy table read.
Okay, fair enough.
They get fired.
Really?
Yeah.
Because if you're not getting laughs.
If the joke's not popping, they'll be like, yeah.
But everybody felt so light.
Yeah.
Felt excited.
Yeah.
Felt confident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The relationships just clicked
They
right
did.
away. I sat down next to Chrissy and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. We speak the same language.
Yeah.
You and
Sue
Susan.
and I went to grad school together at NYU. I was a couple of years ahead of her at NYU, but we knew each other, sort of approached the work the same way, and we're just excited to get a chance to play with each other.
I love
It's kind of
that.
awesome.
How many table reads had you done before that?
I mean, for different like pilots
Sure.
and projects and stuff like that. I mean, a decent amount, enough to know like, what are we supposed to bring to this? I mean,
Right.
I figured because this was at NBC, it
Yeah.
felt a little bit more official, and everyone was so sort of excited. The energy it was palpable.
Yeah.
That I was like, okay, I think everyone's here to like do the work, and the script was just so extraordinary. But that's just not always the case. And quickly with our show, once it did get picked up, remember we stopped doing table reads. There just wasn't enough time in the
We
schedule.
did 5 table reads.
Total, you're right. After that 5th episode, then they
Dan
were
was like, we
done.
ain't
Like
got
on
time.
Yeah, we
lunch
don't have
breaks.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But after the 5th one, we're like, we are.
We got it. We know what we're doing.
We didn't have to prove anything to anybody anymore.
Yeah, it felt solid.
How was the process? But the process of getting to the table read was very different.
Yeah, I want to hear each of your stories
Who wants
of
to start?
how
You
you
go.
got
All right, I'll
the
start.
part.
I was doing OJ
Yep.
at the time. So I had an in with 20th Century, the studio behind This Is Us. And I had done a movie with Glenn and John, our directors of the
That's
pilot.
right.
I did a movie called Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, starring Tina Fey. And so they knew me from that movie, and the studio knew me from People vs. OJ. And then I brought this football because I went into a meeting with Dan, and I just brought my football with me. I used to have it with me all the time. It's kind of like Linus. It's like Linus and his blanket, right? So I'm just carrying the football around. And I was telling Dan how much I love Crazy Stupid Love, which I really, really do. And my wife and I would reference this movie all the time. So we had the meeting come in and say, like, I really enjoy your work, dude. This pilot is pretty awesome. And said, great, we'll have you come in a couple of weeks and read and da-da-da. So I had to do Coming to See William.
Oh, wow.
That was the scene. And I think I also had to do Beth and Randall at the soccer game, right? So do those 2 scenes. And I felt good because it was the first time that I got a chance to come into a room where I knew the studio was sort of a fan of mine and the directors of the pilot were sort of a fan of mine. So like I felt
A friendly room.
a friendly room,
Yeah.
right? Like that thing that you search for your whole career and you wonder like, how does somebody get buzz? I felt like, oh, I got a little buzz,
Yeah.
right? So I came in, felt good about the scenes, and that's how I came to it. Who's next? Go. Go, Mandy
I
Moore.
read the script and was like, yes, let me audition for this. And I think I was one of the first women because the feedback was, and it was just like at the studio. It wasn't with the directors or with Dan or anything. And it was very like, they really liked it. And, we're going to read a bunch of girls in like New York and Chicago and we'll come back to you. And as an actor, that's usually your indication of like, let me wash my hands
you later.
and forget about it.
Okay, thank you.
So like 6 weeks later, I got word that I had made it to like the final cut. And they were going to bring a handful of women and a handful of men in to do like chemistry reads with Dan, with the directors.
Okay.
And
6 weeks.
it was a long time.
Yeah,
so much
yeah.
so that I was like, oh, that's
I want to make
still
that clear to everybody.
happening.
Like you normally
That's
hear
a
things a
long
little
time.
bit quicker than that.
I
Yes.
guess because I was at the beginning of the process and
Right.
then they had to like fan out and read a bunch of people. So there were 3 women and 3 men and they were going to be like mixing and matching during this chemistry read. And I had gone in and heard that Milo was the like top choice. He was like
Gotcha.
the candidate everyone was gunning for. And so one woman went in before me, and I think she read with like each different guy.
Yeah.
And then I was called in because I guess I'd gone to the bathroom. I was supposed to be first or something. And
That's a power move right there.
real
You're
power
supposed to
move.
be first.
I'll go.
And then you're
Tiny
like,
bladder be
ready
damned.
You know what?
To go in.
I'll
Yeah.
be back.
So they had me go in and only read with Milo. And I was like, maybe this is a good thing. We had to read the birthday scene with the cupcake, which, is a little strange to just jump into like meeting a stranger and having them like nuzzle your neck.
Yeah.
And then I had to do a scene by myself, which Dan wrote, that ended up being in the second episode, the monologue about parenting and Rebecca asking
Wait
Jack,
until
like,
we get to episode 2.
how well do you think we're doing? So I had to do
I have
that
notes
whole.
on that. Yes.
I had to do that whole monologue too by myself, but it all ended up working out okay.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Sullioni, what you got, bruh?
Again, I had a very little television experience, so I came at the whole thing far too casual. I was in Los Angeles filming a small part in a movie.
Okay.
And my agents sent me a thing that was like, they want you to put yourself on tape for this untitled Dan Fogelman project.
Yeah.
Now, whenever it's an untitled with a name attached, I knew that was something. Like, that's not nothing.
Right.
I don't research that.
Okay.
Because right away I was like, I don't need to know who that is.
So casual.
Because not because he's unimportant, but because he's too important.
Understood. Okay.
And I don't need that
Right.
when I'm reading these scenes. If I need it for the audition, like to inform myself of the style, or like, then I'm like, okay, a little more research. But I left myself in the dark. And I said, where are they doing these auditions? Like, in LA. And I'm like, well, I'm in LA right now. And they said, oh, well, when are you leaving? I said, I'm going to the airport tomorrow at noon. And they said, well, do you want to go by Fox on your way to the airport? And I was like,
No!
And I was like, sure.
Oh, God.
And I had 2 scenes, and I prepped them that night and rolled up in an Uber on my way to the airport with my luggage.
Yeah.
I took my luggage to
Of
my
course you did.
audition.
So cool.
And
It's such a baller move,
well, it's a Toby move.
Kind of. There you go.
100% a Toby move.
Yeah,
Is this where I audition for the network hit drama? And didn't know anyone in the room, did the scenes and got some laughs and went home. And no chemistry reads for me. No, like 2 weeks later, like, you got it. I was like,
Oh, cool.
I was like, this network TV stuff is easy.
Tell them this though, right? It wasn't for a series regular.
It was complicated because at the time, a TV show that I was on called The Nick had not officially been canceled yet.
Gotcha.
So technically they couldn't hire me as a series regular. So I was only contracted to the show for 1 season.
Got it. Okay.
Instead of the 6 or 7 that everybody else had been contracted for.
Doing a little Soderbergh on the side. I understand.
Right.
Yeah.
But also, like, we'll talk to Dan about this later because I need confirmation about whether or not Toby was actually meant to stick around for as long as he did.
He was not.
He was not.
That's what I heard. He was
No,
not.
he was not.
You're too damn lovable and good, Chris.
So before we jump in, I want to say that I've been rewatching the show in anticipation of our rewatch podcast because that's what you're supposed to do. You all are extraordinary. We'll get to more specific things as we move through, but like, my God, I'm just so gobsmacked of the level of talent that we had on this deadgum show. And I sometimes when it's happening and people come up to you and like, oh my God, I love this show, and da-da-da, and you're like, oh, thanks. Da-da. With a little bit of space and coming back to it again, I loved it then. I may love it more now.
I'm a huge fan.
I really may, because there's a certain level of objectivity that is hard to have when you're in the midst, right? Mm-hmm. Then I pull it back. And I think I did a good job of just watching the show as a spectator. Like, I'm not too hard on myself. And usually my point of focus is everybody else, right? I don't like to be all up in my own grill. But you guys are killers.
You're the sweetest.
And we're going to get specific.
Watching. Remember, do you remember when we had a secret?
Yes, I do.
Like,
yes.
We as a cast, as a production, had a secret.
We did.
And it was this pilot episode.
Yes.
Of like.
And then it was.
The reveal.
Jack.
Yeah.
Then it was Jack. And they kept
and then
making
how
us
Jack
keep
died.
these secrets.
Yes. It kept. it felt weirdly like Lost or something,
It
where
did.
we had all of these weird, and I was like, that's not what this show is. But yes, it
Because
was.
I was watching this first episode
Yeah.
and I forgot we had a secret.
And that we had to try to talk about this show without revealing what it really
We had
was.
to
Do you
go
remember
to the
how challenging
upfronts.
that was?
I forgot
Yeah.
the reveal was coming.
You did.
Like, ish. Like
Yeah.
I was watching your story.
Right.
And when you give that monologue to William, I was like, oh, this is serious. This show is bringing.
Serious,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's fucking bringing.
Yeah.
And then to watch, and we'll get into it in the episodes coming, but to watch your character quickly, like without over explaining it to the audience, by making you the center of this story, it was just. I was in tears. I was in tears watching the pilot.
Yeah. Me too.
Every time that song starts,
Who's,
Da,
wait, can we
da,
find
da,
out?
da,
Who,
da.
who knows the song?
it's
Because he echoes it back at the end of the
watch
episode
me
as
when
well.
da, da, da.
It's
I
beautiful. Like
forget what
it
his-
hits. First of all, the song starts. Milo's booty comes on, right? Like that's the first. Is that like what
Which
you see
is-
the
Oh
box?
no, you're talking about the opening of the
think-
show, and that is the Sufjan Stevens song, which is incredible.
Okay, that's
I
what
was
I'm-
talking
you're
about the
talking about the difference.
reveal.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm
yes,
talking
yes,
about the
yes,
reveal
yes.
at the end of the episode.
Yeah, I hear you.
Because when that starts,
Yeah.
and you finally like start pulling back and seeing people smoke in
Everybody's
the
wearing like
hospital
the
and everything.
70s gear,
It's
etc.
like when I watched it again for the first time in years, you get this like flush over you of like, oh my
Yeah.
God.
He lays it out. This guy Fogelman, we'll have him. We'll get a chance to talk to him in person soon. But like the opening shot is like the box that says 1979,
And you don't even think
and
anything
you don't
of it.
think a motherfucking thing about it, right?
No.
It's just like, oh yeah, they got some old stuff.
Yeah, old boxes.
in a box.
Old family heirlooms.
My man's
they
got his
moved.
terrible towel.
He gives you the answer right there.
right
Yeah.
in the first shot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's genius.
It's freaking fantastic, man. And for me, it's in the fire, like it's the song, but it's also the fireman handing him the cigarettes. I was like,
Yes.
you in a hospital, sir.
Totally.
Why are you smoking in this hospital? And then he
Totally.
pulls back, and everybody's got like butterfly collars and everything. I'm like, like the way that hit, because we kept it for such a long time.
Ugh.
We were tweeting. That's what it was called at the time. Right. I don't know if it's Xing now. But like, and when people started to see that, they were like, are you blanking kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, you guys did that?
Yeah.
It was because the show was good. Like the stories were good. The
Sure.
characters were good. But then you added that to it?
That element, that connection between everybody. Sure, I know.
I was Randall's talking to William, and he's saying, "Yes, these are your parents. Right? They're my adoptive parents. They're my parents. Right? They raised me since a fireman dropped me off, and they said it was meant to be, etc." And then you cut to the fireman talking to Jack, and like I'm wondering, like different people probably put it together at different moments,
Sure.
right? But by the time it was all over, they're like, "I'll be doggone,"
Yeah.
except for my mother, who said, "Wait, they're related?" I was like, "Mama, you better quit folding your laundry while you watch my show."
Yeah. Yeah.
Mom.
There were a few episodes where if you weren't paying attention,
Yeah.
you would lose the whole plot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The show, the thing that I was so impressed with is that Dan, and obviously I don't need to explain what an amazing writer Dan is, but
Yeah.
like you find out who these characters are so quickly
Yeah.
because they show you who they are.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell the audience anything. You don't have to talk down to the audience. You don't have to over-explain anything.
Sure.
They instantly show you.
Sure.
And it was just, it's something that I think I talked about a lot when we were doing press for the show, and is kind of the reason why an audience, I think, ends up sticking with us for so long when the show can be really hard for them,
Sure.
like really emotional
Yeah.
for them, is that Dan and the writers had so much respect and care for the audience. that, like,
Immediately.
immediately.
Yes.
You knew that this was going to be hard,
Yeah.
but that you were going to be okay because the show was going to take care of you.
Sure.
Yeah.
These people were going to take care of you. Not only because the writers were very conscientious about creating this story, but because the characters within the story are taking such good care of each other.
Yes.
That is very true.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
It's really astounding because, like, you've met fans that like had to bail after a certain amount of time
Sure.
because it was like, it's too much.
Yep.
I'm not ready to go through this.
Sure.
You can't make me.
Right.
And that's totally understandable.
Very.
But yeah, I was so struck by all of that, like how gentle and but also how fierce that first episode of TV is.
I want to go with, so I'm going to talk you guys through some of my things that I was watching as I went. So Milo's butt was the first one. I was impressed with the squats. My man kept it high. Posterior
High and
chain,
tight. Yeah,
posterior
yeah.
chain was lit, as they say. Shout out to Gerald McCraney.
Oh,
Gerald McCraney plays Dr. K, and he bodies that pilot.
he really does.
He is so charming. And so, he uses the term folksy or whatever.
Yeah.
You call me Dr. K,
Yeah.
whatnot. To be able to put a mother of triplets at ease when her normal
Doctor is
Now, listen,
unavailable.
Here's something for you. Let me jump to this. You have 2 children.
Yeah.
You didn't have any children when you shot this pilot.
Yeah.
What's it like the actual experience?
Yeah.
Versus how you thought, the way you played it, like.
It's interesting because watching it back, I'm like, okay, that feels somewhat realistic for labor. I mean, this is a network television show. You're not going to show all of the
Can't show it all.
nitty gritty of being on all fours, roaring like a tiger.
Yes,
but,
man.
Yeah.
or whatever
There will be a
happens
segment on
during
this
labor.
podcast where we do that.
Little ayahuasca action. Yeah, let's do it.
But I'm sure as the show, as we delve deeper, having, somewhat more of a point of view being a parent now will sort of inform, I'll be able to look at some of what I've done and really shake my head about it. But so far, these first few episodes, I'm like, okay.
You're in the pocket. You feel?
I guessed somewhat appropriately and accurately. I did as much research as I possibly could. But you're so right. I think that the key to those scenes is Gerald McCraney. Like, he is so extraordinary. And I think because he was such a special part of the show, and maybe until it was all on film and edited together, we didn't really know that. I'm so curious to ask Dan if he really thought that this was going to be a character who was reoccurring.
Right.
Because he came back several times throughout the run of the show. And in the first season alone, I think he was there 2 or 3 more times. So
Because he's in 102 as well.
he's in 102 or 103, and
103?
he comes back again. I believe there's like a checkup with the kids.
Yeah.
It's somewhere down the line, and then obviously when Jack passes away in the second season, he comes to the funeral.
Spoiler alert. Jeez,
Spoiler!
Mandy.
I know. Sorry.
Jeez.
Sorry.
Bleep that out. If we're rewatching and you were watching for the first time, la 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 la.
Sorry.
If you're watching,
How dare I?
He's wonderful.
7 years after the fact.
let me talk about Dr. K for a quick second.
Go ahead, please.
I will say this about not Dr. K, but Gerald McCraney.
Yeah.
And I realized, having started to rewatch the show, one of the very subtle things that this show does, and I don't know if it was intentional. Another question I have for Dan.
Yeah.
Gerald McCraney, Alan Thicke, even Milo Ventimiglia are characters in our TV history.
Ah, interesting.
And they make
Katie
us...
Sagal.
Katie Sagal.
Brad Garrett.
Yep.
All of these guest stars are prominent figures in all of our collective TV history.
Sure.
And it makes the show feel
Familiar?
Timeless.
like it's always been. Like it's always been there.
Interesting.
And I just had that realization watching these first few episodes.
That's a very interesting point. I mean, we know Dan loves TV.
Yes.
And I think we also know that Dan has a particular affection for network television in terms of trying to revitalize it and keep it relevant, et cetera. And so having the show have all these people that have been in the network TV milieu throughout our time probably adds to that.
Yeah.
You know what
And
I'm saying?
not just in the TV world, but parental figures
Yeah.
in the world.
Yeah.
Gerald McCraney, even Katie Sagal, even though it's Married with Children, like that's a very specific time
Peggy Bundy
in our
was-
TV viewing
For
sure.
family.
Yeah.
It was interesting to me.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that.
More That Was Us after this short break.
Ladies and gentlemen, Friends, I know you can't see me right now, but my skin is absolutely luscious. I would like to say that I wake up like this, but that is absolutely not the truth. This requires care, it requires love, it requires attention. You have to wash, you have to moisturize, you have to make sure that you get the under eye, you got to make sure that all the rough spots have been made smooth.
There are a lot of daily skincare products on the market claiming to help reduce fine lines and wrinkles, but, how do you know that your products are actually working?
Ritual is here for your skincare routine. They created a wrinkle support skin supplement and conducted a clinical study to take the guesswork out of skincare.
Ever since I brought Ritual into my daily routine, I've noticed changes. Changes I like, and changes that I can actually see. I guess it makes sense since our friends over at Ritual actually conducted a clinical study around their wrinkle support skin supplement, taking the guesswork out of skincare.
Hyacera is a once-daily skin supplement clinically proven to reduce wrinkles and fine lines and increase skin smoothness in 90 days. In a clinical study, Hyacera led to a 3.6 times reduction in crow's feet wrinkles within 90 days and a 2.9 times increase in skin smoothness within 90 days as compared to a placebo.
When we started this podcast, Ritual was one of the first companies that I wanted us to reach out to in order to spread the good word. Because not only do I use their Hyacera skin treatment, I am also taking their Symbiotic Plus for gut health. I have a Sleep Bio Series melatonin. They have supplements for stress. I take a men's daily vitamin. They are a huge part of my daily supplement routine. And the vitamins are all coated in these wonderfully tasting oils. Some are vanilla, some are mint, some are citrus. So you don't get any of that weird vitamin taste when you take any of these supplements.
Start Hyacera to help minimize wrinkles without compromising on clean science. Hyacera from Ritual is a clinically proven skin supplement you can actually trust.
Get 25% off your first month for a limited time at ritual.com/TWU. Start Ritual or add Hyacera to your subscription today. That's ritual.com/TWU for 25% off.
Kevin and the Challenger. We meet my dear brother, Justin Hartley, who is now got picked up for season 2 of Tracker.
Yeah.
So congratulations to you, buddy. We love you. We miss you. He's up in Vancouver doing his thing. Justin is easily underestimated.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's a very handsome Asgardian man. And people want to dismiss him as just that. But Justin is like a deep well of emotion and thought and consideration. Like he's one of the most, and the show did a very good job of exposing this over time that like, you think he's surface, but he's actually very, very deep, right? And so our introduction to Kevin is sort of an embodiment of that, of his sort of contemplation of the Challenger.
Yeah.
Right? Which we circle back to later in the show. But it's so like he's dancing. He's got 2 beautiful women with him, scantily clad, who are looking to engage with him. And he's like, I just turned 36.
Yeah, he's having an existential crisis.
Yeah.
He was really figuring out what he's supposed to be doing with his life in the midst of sort of surrounded by all the Hollywood accoutrement that fame and fortune is supposed to bring you. He's like, I'm trying to figure out what else is going on. Right. That's what jumping off point for just that character.
I think what's so fascinating about Justin, and you alluded to that, is like right off the bat, I just like rewatching the show, I'm like, he is so fantastic.
Wonderful.
Like he's spellbinding. You can't take your eyes off of him. Yeah. And you're already like, who is this character? Who is this person? Like, I want to know more about him.
Yeah.
Like, what an interesting take on a character that we think we would know on the surface.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we all had similarities to our characters in certain ways, but he like had some eerie similarities, right? As far as like his personal career in like daytime TV, and then getting into, there was like a superhero TV show. Yeah, it was fascinating. He still makes me laugh probably more than anybody. I find him
me pee on myself.
I find him so
Trickles.
subtle,
yeah,
and so like precise. He's incredible.
He's a great impressionist, too.
He is.
He does an impression of Ken Olin.
I can't wait for the episode of this podcast where we get to have Ken Olin on.
Oh my God.
It's going to be so
I'm
good.
already anticipating.
Oh, yeah, he's fantastic. Okay, that's a little bit just on him. I have Wait and Kate is what I was saying. And then we had Divine Joy Randolph in our pilot.
Yes.
Academy Award winner. Leading the group. And then there's Kate, and then there's the other Kate, as in Caitlin. Dan's wife playing Madison.
Yes.
Had the nerve to open up her mouth about her weight concerns. And then Toby's just like,
This is the incredible thing about this one literal 42 minutes of television is that there are a million ways into it.
Yeah.
A million ways to relate to it, a million ways to kind of find your way in through a different character. And she
is one of them.
You see this side character, quote unquote, at a weight loss recovery group meeting, and you think this is a perfectly written TV joke.
Yeah.
She's a joke.
Right.
And we will come to find out,
not a joke.
Seasons and seasons later.
Yeah, man.
Just one of the stars of the show.
He plants seeds. Like, I think what it is for Dan is that, like, he doesn't necessarily know what he's doing at the moment, but I think he allows whatever it is that he's done to just germinate and be like, there's something there, right? Like, that's not frivolous or what have you.
It will reveal itself later.
Yeah, he's an onion in his writing.
Sure.
He just keeps peeling it back and back.
Like a parfait.
Yeah. There you go. I like to mix mine together.
Me too. I don't want to just like dip down into all the layers.
But so Kate, we see her in her home. It's her 36th birthday. She's got all the things on the food.
All the Post-it notes.
All the Post-it notes about, please don't do this, don't do that. Not always like the most kindest language, but trying to do something that she considers to be effective. And then you see her on the scale. And it's such a powerful image and a vulnerable image of someone allowing themselves to be seen, just to sort of figure out where they are in life and where they want to be.
Yeah.
And I also want to highlight LA and the fact that this show takes place in LA, and we're talking about a plus-size woman living in Los Angeles, and how difficult it is to navigate this city in particular.
Yes.
Which projects thinness as health.
Yes.
And that's the one thing that I was thinking about and my wife and I have many conversations about this, that we as a society are obsessed with weight, more so even to the exclusion of health, because you'll see someone who is skinny and assume them to be a healthful individual.
Right.
And that is not necessarily
they don't go hand in hand,
the case.
Yeah.
Right? So I just wanted to, if anybody wants to feed into that, that's a big thought that I had.
It was my participation in this storyline.
Yeah.
When I shot the pilot, if you watch episode 1 and episode 2, you can't really tell because I am wearing a suit.
I can tell.
It's two very different people.
Yeah.
Because when I came to the pilot, I was probably close to 300 pounds.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I was also still wearing a suit.
Right.
When I auditioned, I read the sides and I called my agents. I'm like, I know that I'm a big guy, but I'm not. You know what I mean? I was reading the description. I'm like, how is this gonna work?
Yeah.
And they said, don't worry about it. Just go read the scenes. Okay, great. So the things that you're talking about coming into this world, moving to LA, being a certain size, not fitting into like one group or the other, kind of in the middle, having to wear this suit and discussing these issues. Chrissy and I talked about it right away because I was like, I can talk about this a little bit, but I can't speak to this the same way that you can. I can't speak for you, especially when people ask me about it. And people had a lot of questions about the suit and whether that was right to be doing, but they were unaware of the future storylines and the fact that they wanted to jump back to a time when Toby was not as heavy as he was, and that he would be losing the weight quicker than Kate was going to be a storyline. So it was a really interesting and tricky thing for me a conversation for me to participate in.
Yeah.
But I also was, like you were saying, trying to find myself.
Sure.
And in between the pilot and the
Second episode when we got picked up.
and the second episode,
Yeah.
I came back when we got picked up. I came back 40 pounds lighter.
Wow.
When I walked into the room, Glenn Ficarra and John Ricco, the director, I saw it in their faces. They were like, "What is going on? You can't you can't be." Your face looks so different.
Right.
And if you put them next to each other, they really do.
Well, because I got a chance to watch them back to back,
Right.
and I was like, and the first thing they say in 102, we'll get to that, is
Yeah.
like, why are you losing the weight faster?
Had to become a plot line. I think this is an interesting point to sort of like interject. Just
Yes.
speaking broadly about the show, and I think I'm curious what your thoughts are. Like, people ask, like, what was it about this show that made it what it was? Was
Yeah.
it the timing? Was it the fact that there is so many different ways in, as Chris alluded to,
Yeah.
for everyone? Like, it was such a specific, special moment in time, right? This
Yeah.
is 2016. This is before the world was changed
Yeah,
in a political way. Like, the world did look so intrinsically different, but I also feel like it was at a time where people really were looking for, and I think this only grew over the course of the show, for unity over
Yes.
division. They were looking for
Connection.
for ways to
Yeah.
come together, for ways to sort of see our commonalities with one another. And like Chris said, there is just something for everyone in this episode alone, right? We're talking about weight, we're talking about depression, anxiety, addiction, like stillbirth. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like endless. And I feel like every episode had that to a certain degree. It would take those issues and switch them out for other things as the show sort of evolved.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious what you guys think it was for the world. Like, why was it our show at this moment in time that like became what it was?
I'm gonna respond, and I'll say that you're able to reach the universal through the specific, right? And so there's these moments that are happening, like Kate on the scale, taking off her earrings to see if that'll make a difference in terms of how much she weighs, that people can relate to. I kick off my flip-flops
Sure.
just to see, I'll weigh myself with the flip-flops and then take them off and be like, oh, okay, that's cool. There's being a transracial adoptee, right? And how we're able to sort of excavate like what that journey is like for Randall going through. Like, it gets really granular.
Yeah.
In an incredible way. I think in this time of bifurcation of the nation, of the world or whatnot, like there is the connective tissue of family.
Yeah.
And being like, you know what, whether you're a red state, blue state, purple state, whatever, like I love my family. I love my mama. Like I want to be with my children and have a relationship that means something to me, right? Like I think that all of those things were massive because you're right, like we were sort of divided in 2016 and it's become a bit more exacerbated
Sure.
in the 8 years since.
Yeah.
But even when I was just over in London, because it kind of hit a little bit later in London than it did here in the States, I walked through thinking I was going to be incognito. And all of a sudden, like people...
Is that trademarked?
That is... No, but I should.
You
Don't
should.
take it. People would be like, oh my God, I love you. I just had to tell you right quick. And like, because they saw the show and they, like, family is universal.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
To add on to that,
please.
because of where I was in my life when I started this show, I viewed it in a certain way, and I was reminded of it when I watched the pilot. The thing that's interesting about all of these characters is that they are at the point in their life when they are entering the second half of their life. Something is happening that is they've all developed themselves. They've developed their careers, their relationships, their egos, their whatever. And something is happening that is going to change everything, that is going to destroy the ego and rocket them into the second half of life.
That's a good point.
And that time in your life is very hard to navigate.
Yeah.
especially if you don't have guidance, if you don't have spiritual guidance, religion, friends, family, whatever the thing is. So on top of relating to the show because of family, the show offered solutions.
Sure.
Yeah.
The show offered answers
Yeah.
because everyone looked at the Pearsons and was like, this is a perfect family. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
There's addiction, there's anxiety, there's weight issues, there's food, there's infighting, this is on paper the most imperfect family that ever was.
Yeah.
But you relate to it
Yeah.
because something in it reminds you of your family. And yes, your family is also imperfect.
Yeah.
But that's fine.
But
that's okay.
So it's not even like a solution necessarily, but it's like, oh, they're kind of like us. I'm not
This is
jacked up.
Yes.
Like,
This is
you
us.
know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Is the response the audience has
Yeah.
when they watch the show.
Yes.
They turn and they go, this is us. This is us.
This is us.
But something as specific as when I say solutions, you snap at Beth
Yeah.
and instantly repair it.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, that's how you do that.
That's one way.
Seriously, when I'm like, oh, so because I snap sometimes and I know I shouldn't, and instead of not fixing it, oh, that's how you fix it with a
Right.
little bit of love and
Yeah.
humor and compassion and touch. And
Yeah.
I was literally learning relationship from the show.
Oh my goodness.
From you talking to from the kid, from everything.
Yeah.
So there was solution in the show.
Yeah.
On how, man, my brother's a problem too, and I have no idea how to deal with them. Well, I'll watch these two and see how they figure it
I'm
out.
going to tell you something.
But also just to feel better about it. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm not an
Yes.
anomaly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Other people feel this way. Other
Yes.
people have these same experiences.
There are times, we'll get into, but like there are times in which Randall and Kevin have helped me and my brother.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Randall and Beth, Annie,
Sterling's
Tess,
notes.
and William. This is Sterling's notes. Watching my kids play on the soccer field. That was our sort of introduction to our family. Susan Kelechi Watson, I love you to the moon and back.
So much.
Randall gets a lot of shine. Beth is the rock.
She is.
Like she's the rock that he can sort of like, I'm falling, and she's like, oh baby, come on over here. And he's like, oh sweet Jesus, just come on, I got you. You know what I'm saying? And it was such a joy because I knew I could fall, and that Sue was just gonna be there to catch me wherever I
The
went,
chemistry
you know?
between the two of you guys,
Yeah.
again, so immediately was just, there was something so familiar about it. Like, oh yeah, these two people love each other. These two people are together. Like it's
You could feel
extraordinary.
that history.
Yes.
We have history, and we also just have both people of deep abiding faith, and sort of like people will ask. I don't know if you guys get asked this question, like, how did you guys get the chemistry so fast? Da, 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 da. Well, I ask questions, and just and sort of leave them open ended for people to share themselves with me, and I in turn try to be as generous in sharing myself with people. So I feel like it's hard, not impossible, hard to replicate something in front of the camera that doesn't exist in some shape, form, or fashion off camera. So even if the time is short, trying to just talk to somebody and get a chance to be like, yo, wasn't that crazy? Like, did you see this? And having some touchstone so that when you get in front of the camera, it doesn't feel fabricated.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right? Like, how did you guys?
I heard that this morning. I was listening to an interview with Brene Brown, and she was talking about conversation and about listening.
I love me some BB, yeah.
And she was talking to Esther Perel.
I love me some EP too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's all
And
about
they
relationships.
were talking
yeah.
about
Yes.
relationship and conversations, right?
Yes.
And she was saying that the listener informs the speaker. The way that you listen, the space that you hold, the questions that you ask,
Yeah.
literally form the speaker before your eyes. So it's interesting, not only the way that you develop intimacy with your acting partners, but that's also what Beth is, what Susan is so good at
Yeah.
Yeah.
on the show.
Yeah.
The way she listens to you
And gives you the space.
forms this man like right before your eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of questions to be asked in terms of like trying to mine for chemistry with someone.
Yes.
But it comes down to really trusting them,
Yeah.
being open, And I felt that immediately with Milo.
Yeah.
And we were, I mean, in the, chemistry read, he asked me right off the bat, like, is it okay? Like, do I have permission to get close to you?
Nice.
And I was like, yes, of course.
Yeah.
That's what the job requires.
Right.
But that
It's always nice to be asked.
It is nice to be asked, and I
Yes.
do think that should be
I wish I
required.
was
We
asked.
should both.
I wish I was asked more.
Yeah.
I wish people, no, please.
I think that is like, that opened the door for everything. And it opens the door for further discussions of like, okay, is it all right if I get, closer to you in bed when we're laying next to each other?
Yeah.
Is it okay
Because
to
we're
kiss in this
predating
moment?
intimacy coordinators. We
Correct.
did not have an intimacy
We
coordinator
didn't.
on the
And
show.
I'm not sure if like our show in particular required that. I mean, maybe
Technically,
it
it
would
was me. But I was real loosey goosey.
You let things fly.
Yeah. Comme ça, comme ça.
They seem happy.
They seem fine.
There you go.
But I mean, I think the confines of network television, like there wasn't a ton
Sure.
that like
Sure.
would maybe necessitate that.
I feel you.
But sure. And every situation is different. But yeah, I felt that immediate like comfort and safety with Milo. And I
Yeah.
think that kind of laid the groundwork for the rest of our time
I'll
together.
say this in terms of observing the chemistry. And Milo as a man. Milo is a caretaker.
Yes, he is.
He likes to take care of people. Our hat here. Milo loves the gifts to the crew, and he's wonderful at coordinating them and
Taking
making sure
charge, for
that
sure.
everyone is taken care of.
Yeah.
We had to go do upfronts
Yes.
in New York. Me, Mandy, and Milo Ventimiglia.
This is before the show?
This is right after it got picked up.
After the
Okay.
pilot, but right before it got picked up.
Sure.
So we knew we were doing like 13 episodes.
Sure,
Sorry.
Sure.
Okay, so wait.
Oh.
So Mandy is happily married right now, but she had a former relationship, wasn't the best.
Yes.
And Milo was like, do you need me to do something? Like, what have you? And Mandy's like, thank you, that's really sweet. No, it's gonna be totally fine.
God, I forgot about this.
And then somebody had a string loose on
My shoe, remember?
something on Mandy's shoe, and she's like, I gotta cut something off of his shoe. And Milo pulled out like this John Rambo knife.
Yeah.
MacGyvered my shoe somehow.
You know what I'm saying? It was like,
Fixed blade.
why are you carrying this around?
Because it's New York City. You
in your
never
pocket.
know.
Yeah.
You never know.
But the dude was so ready to help and to be of service that I could see that actually led to a certain level
Yes.
of trust
Yeah.
as well.
Correct. I
Yes.
felt taken care of.
And you always knew he was armed.
Minute one.
You always knew, no matter where you went.
We were really protected.
Yeah.
If need be.
I was like, this dude is off the
Yeah.
chain.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
More That Was Us after these words from our sponsors.
I am always trying to do right by my body. So when it comes to my hair and scalp health, finding a product that actually works and is made with clean ingredients always seems like a bit of a trade-off. But with Vegamore, I get products that are made with clean ingredients and give me visibly healthy hair. With Vegamore, I'm able to have visibly thicker, fuller, shinier, longer hair, all without the harsh ingredients. And every cute pink bottle of Vegamore products are 100% cruelty-free and are never formulated with potentially harmful chemicals like parabens or hormones. I absolutely love their shampoo and conditioner, and I cannot wait to try their value kit, like the Grow Essentials kit, where you get to try even more than one amazing product at a great savings. When you sign up for a monthly subscription, you save more, you never run low on products that you need to take care of your hair. The key is consistency in your routine for the most beautiful, healthy-looking hair. Fun fact, Vegamore sells 1 bottle of Grow Serum every 15 seconds on their website. That's how good this stuff is. Give your hair the power of the little pink bottle with Vegamore. For a limited time, That Was Us listeners get 20% off their first order by going to vegamore.com/TWU and use the code TWU at checkout. That's vegamore.com/TWU, code TWU to save 20% on your first order. vegamor.com/TWU, code TWU.
I haven't really gotten a chance to talk about you, Tobias, which, by the way,
Finally.
this is
This is what we've been waiting for.
I will say this. This is side note. This was not in the script. I just started calling you Tobias
That's right.
because I have a thing in life about people adding Y's to the ends of names that shouldn't be there or what have you. So, like, you know, people will call me Sturley. Like, this one friend of mine goes, "Oh, Sturley." I'm like, that's not my name.
You're not friends anymore.
We're still friends or whatnot.
Yeah.
But I think
just
also,
on Facebook.
I think that Randall, in terms of names, like calling people by like their proper name or something, I felt like was just something I was going to adopt. And so I just started calling you Tobias, and
Didn't I try in an episode to call you Randy?
You did try. I was
Did
like,
it make it into the cut?
It did make it into the cut.
Yeah, I was like,
"Don't
hey,
do
Randy.
that."
And you're like, don't do that. I was like, okay.
Noted.
But you are such an imp in those first few scenes, right? Like you're just like a delightful, like, I'm gonna poke a hole in everything that's happening around us, because like his perspective is like, this is ridiculous, right? Like we're here trying to conform ourselves to some, and again, I want to highlight, because I don't think he's ever saying something about not being healthy, but like in terms of my size, like there's a certain comfort that Toby had with his size, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
But like the thing that happens is like, so you go and you talk to Kate and you start this flirtation and you're just so charming. You don't get a chance to see the charming big dude that often.
Right.
Like truly, like
Yeah.
you're usually like,
Yeah.
there's the butt of the joke to do anything, but like
Sure.
the dude who actually gets it, you're the first person to come with the grand romantic gesture. Like you are this incredibly
Charismatic
warm,
leading man.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Riz?
Total
you said?
risk.
Yes.
Total risk.
You
That's what the
guys.
kids say.
Yeah.
You guys.
You have the line then. She
Yeah.
says, like, I can't fall for a big guy right now.
Funny fat guy, right?
A fat guy right now. He goes, then he goes,
Guess I'll lose the weight.
guess I'll lose the motherfucking weight. And just dropped that bar and like walked off. And I was like, oh, my jaws just got a little wet.
Yeah, the earnestness.
For real.
Immediately,
for real.
it's like that told you so much about the character right then and there.
Yeah.
All
In
on
the
the
pilot.
page. All right there on the page. It was all
And
again.
the delivery.
Other than having to wear the suit,
Yeah.
it was all far too casual. Like through the whole process, just I felt the character was written that way, and he was horny. He like
Really horny.
like at one point they're watching a video of a dolphin trying to have sex with a man. It's like, what kind of date is this? Like when you look back, he's like
That was
making
pretty funny.
he's making handy jokes.
He
He's
did.
like, this guy's a full blown
You
pervert.
got away with some things that because you're you,
Well,
I think it
Yes.
played.
listen.
it did play.
I tried to bring as much heart to it as possible.
I'm also curious if you guys knew, and maybe this is a little too inside baseball, but did you know during the pilot where the story was going and where your character was going? Because for someone, in your case, because you were already on another show, so you were in
Yeah.
second position on our show, did they give you any indication, or maybe even like once the show got picked up, like this is where things are going?
So once the show got picked up, I'm not sure what I knew at
In
the
the pilot.
But once the show got picked up, like Dan told all of us, he would say like, do you guys want to know where everything is going, or would you just want to do it like one episode at a time? I was like, I like to know the whole thing, right? So we knew about Jack. I knew about William, and that was really like the hardest one, because like people were responding, and we should talk a little bit about that relationship as we go into it real
Yes.
quick. But like people were responding to that relationship and what it meant to them, and I know Randall's going to find something to work things out, and it's going to be okay or whatnot. So I knew about those things. And I'm trying to think about the future. I think I knew it was just those things.
Sure.
What did you know?
I remember when I read the pilot, the idea was like, this character's not really in the pilot, but like, trust us, like she's going to be a bigger part of like the thread of the show. And I was like, I don't care. Like I will like be the caterer on set. Like I just want to be a part of this energy. Like this is such extraordinary writing. And I was like, yes, I trust where this is going. I obviously had no real idea. It wasn't until the show got picked up and it's like, well, we're jumping 8 years ahead in the second episode. And, you know, you will be playing this character in the present day. Like none of that was obviously apparent in the pilot.
Yeah, I guess, again, I didn't understand the television landscape. I didn't understand how many questions I could ask. I didn't even know the titles of everyone on set. It took me like a season and a half to figure out what everyone's job was, you know, and you did. And I learned from watching you, because you were in the writer's room.
Yeah.
You were in Dan's office. You were asking questions. You're not only asking questions, you were providing ideas, providing storylines, providing backstory on yourself and certain plot. And I was like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. And it was a huge learning experience for me. But I just knew what they told us, and I wasn't asking a lot of questions. And in between takes, I was sitting in that suit, just like
melting.
You were not. Let me say, Sully was not happy with the suit.
That's
he was mad uncomfortable.
It was a lot for the first season.
It was toasty.
It was a lot for the first season. And so I didn't quite know, and I guess I didn't know how much they knew. Like I knew they had broad strokes, and I knew they had an end goal in mind.
If you go into the writer's room, they had like a chronology of the Pearson family up on the wall, around the side.
Around the ceiling.
You know what I'm saying? So you could say like, okay, because we're jumping through time, we as adults have to know what transpired in these kids' youth so that we know what we're playing in present time. Right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of brilliant.
I want to talk about the great Ron Cephas Jones and, you know, the experience of him in this pilot. And because I know that Dan always had intentions for this character, obviously, for his storyline to progress the way that it did.
Yeah.
Which was bittersweet for all of us.
Yeah.
Because Ron was a favorite. And it was hard to know what the future had in store for his character, because it just meant that he wasn't going to be on set with us. But that's jumping ahead too far. Let's talk about, like, did you have any previous, like, relationship with Ron? Did you meet him for the first time working on the pilot?
We met in New York. We were doing a reading of something for Terrell Alvin McCraney, who's the Oscar-winning screenwriter for the film Moonlight. He was writing a play based on the Book of Job, and it's called Head of Passes, that ultimately wound up going to New York and starring Felicia Rashad. And so me and Ron got together to read excerpts of the Book of Job for Terrell.
Wow.
And like his scripts, so Ron has he highlights everything in his script. He has different highlighters, different pin marks or something. It looks like hieroglyphics when you're going through a script. And he's like, yeah, man, just so I can get different colors in there, you know what I'm saying? It's just like jazz, man. Like sometimes I can say it like this and then I flip it and you don't do that? And I'm like, no, man, I don't do it.
I love that.
But he was so beautiful, and there's no place that Ron would rather be than be on set or on stage to be at work. And he was sick.
Yeah.
When we started our show, his lungs were failing him. And sometimes you have to sit down and take a breath or whatnot and just relax for a little bit. And so I think for him to be playing a character who had stage 4 stomach cancer hit very close to home, because I think he was very much considering his own mortality.
Sure.
Right? And what the future had in store for him. He's such a just beautiful human being, right? He's just got a big smile and a big laugh and just joy in every fiber of his being.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting when you're playing Randall, who is so bitter towards William, but because Ron is who he is, when he says, "Do you want to come in?" You're like, "Yeah, man, I want to come in."
Yeah.
You instantly become a little boy.
I want to be mad at you, but like, okay, fine. And then he's, like, I want to say all this other stuff to you. You're like, you want to meet your grandchildren? Because you're just so, why am I doing the thing? Because it's Ron, right? It's Ron playing William. It could have been somebody else, and they'll be like, oh, I don't know if I can make this work. But I was like, I want to be around this dude. I just want him to be around these people, because when that synthesis of character and actor sort of just make it easy where you don't have to act.
Yeah.
Right? The script is just so good. It's like,
you can't play William if you haven't figured a lot of this stuff out in your own life.
Yeah.
Like watching him, you're like, oh, this man
has lived a life.
has figured a lot of these things out.
Yes.
That he's bringing to this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, we'll get to this in 102, but like his conversation with Beth, I just want to just real quick, it's just beautiful. He's beautiful. He is missed. I would just, for the people who don't know, he ultimately did pass away. He had a double lung transplant.
Yeah.
And it took. And he was gaining weight, because you touch Ron in season 1 with the feather, you'd be afraid that you were going to knock him over.
Yeah.
And I remember he came back later, he's like, yes, Sterl, I got cheeks, man. I got cheeks here. And he's feeling full, and he got a chance to go to Broadway, and he got nominated for a Tony.
Yeah.
And he's not with us anymore. But like, he made the most out of his life.
Yes, he did.
As I think did William Hill, through his delineation, make the most of the remaining time that he had with his life. And his character, I think, is a wonderful lesson that permeates throughout the show, right?
Yeah.
It's the things that you love the most that you miss. So it must have been worth something. You can be sad, but you can also celebrate that as well.
The three of us got to be in New York together at his memorial with Susan and John.
Yeah.
And you spoke, and so did some very important people in his life, his daughter, and a lot of his creative collaborators throughout his life. And I had never met anybody who knew Ron as long as these people had known Ron. And one of the things that I learned from listening to people talk about him was, one, what an incredible father he was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Solution, because I am also a new father. I'm like, how do you raise children?
Yeah.
How do you raise children effectively to become loving, open, creative human beings? And I learned a lot about how to do that by listening to his daughter speak, but also listening to you and listening to his creative collaborators. I realized that he may have been the most self-realized person I've ever met.
Yeah.
Because the person I met is the same person that all of these people are talking about from back to when he was 21, 22.
Isn't that interesting? I took that away from the memorial as well.
Just an incredible human being.
He's beautiful. He is beautiful. May he rest in peace. I want to take it back to the show, not in a callous way, but I think somewhat organically, because one of the moments that people really responded to on the show is the conversation between Dr. K and Jack when he has to tell him that one of the triplets didn't make it. And shout out to Milo Ventimiglia and what was going on in his soul and in his face, because as I was rewatching it, you just watching a man trying to figure out what the hell is going on, you know? And he takes that seat, and Dr. K sits next to him, and the most gentle and loving, like you said, that you see what you see in our show, people taking care of each other. This is like the quintessential act of care. Like, can an old man offer you some words here? And he talks about how he lost his first child. And one of the reasons why he became a doctor said, hopefully, I can save more babies than what I lose, right? And said, you walked in here with this intention of walking out with 3 kids. It may not look the way that you originally thought that it would, but it doesn't mean that still can't be the case. And that's such an interesting, at one point, I think you, Rebecca, as Mandy, Rebecca said something about, or was it you or you quoting it, that until the day is over, it can always be known for something else.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking
something
about?
in later seasons.
It's later seasons,
Yeah.
but like it's sort of like the callback to it is like in the pilot. They're like, this does not have to be the end of your story. Tragedy is a part of your story. It does not have to be the defining
part
of your story.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's the what the show is capable of, if you're able to stick with it and you're ready for it, is that while it takes you through something, it can unburden you.
Yes.
It can lighten your load if you sit with it. I think that's also something that what people were responding to in real time is that it took them through so much, but they left it kind of
Lighter.
a little lighter.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what catharsis is, right?
Yeah.
And people would often just associate our show with tears and crying. I'm like, but don't you feel better after that?
Yeah.
I normally do.
Yeah.
And it's for a reason. It's purposeful. It's not manipulative. It's just the reality of experiencing what these characters are going through and your relationship with it in your own life. You're right. It's a choice, or it's a way of reframing it to feel like you are unburdening yourself from an experience or from grief or trauma or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
We've got it right here.
Is it in frame? Can they see?
There's no lemon so sour that you can't make something resembling lemonade.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
That's a bar. That's what they call in the streets a bar.
a bar.
A bar. Because it's something
It's become an Etsy piece of art.
that we're able
That's what.
that gets
That's where we are.
echoed throughout the show, right?
Sure.
Because Kate mentions it to Kevin. What's that thing that Dad used to always say or whatnot? And I think we see how it permeates to like other families later on in the show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man, you
The
be laying
influence is widespread.
Yeah.
Layer upon layer.
layers on this joint, man.
The trailer for this episode had 80 million views
Sure.
online before the TV show even aired.
Yeah.
The first episode, all told, had something like 17.9 million viewers.
Wow.
So I think we should have enough episodes to
Yeah.
speak to each and every one of those people. Right? And
This
so
goes on in perpetuity.
yeah, we want you to reach out to us. We've set up an email where it's thatwasuspod@gmail.com.
Bam.
Thatwasuspod@gmail.com.
That's it.
We want to hear how you related to the show.
Questions?
Questions about the show, how the show brought you together with people.
Yeah, the impact. Send us a video. Write us I don't know, an essay, whatever you want.
What have you.
Whatever
Yeah.
you need to do. And who knows, you might end up on the show. Maybe we'll make some phone calls.
There we
Yeah,
go.
I would love that.
That'd be
Maybe we
cool.
reach out to some fans.
Yeah.
Anyways, the last segment on this podcast is always going to be interacting with the fans because, as the show is titled, this is us.
And we also have an emotional support hotline.
Right, because if people are going to start rewatching this.
And they need a place to vent.
Yeah.
They can call 412-501-3028.
There you go.
You'll notice that is a Pittsburgh area code, just to keep
day.
it true to the Pearsons.
All day, baby.
Yeah.
Give us a ring.
Yeah, give us a ring. Leave
Give
us
us
a
a ring.
message.
Leave it on the line. You know, your feelings, what you're going through as you watch the episodes.
Yeah.
Your reactions.
The best part of having done this show is the money. No, the best part of having done this show is the way that the fans interact with you when they see you. You know they're a fan of the show instantly.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like instantly. They'll either call you by your character name.
They are the best fans to have.
They will ask for a hug. You know, like the things that people have told me regarding how this show has impacted their lives. It moves me because you want to make art that entertains people, right? That educates people about the world that they live in and whatnot, but also provides some form of edification or desire to be a better version of yourself to make the world a better place.
Sure.
We hit the sweet spot with this joint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we really just...
It echoes through time because wherever we go,
Yeah.
it is a small town filled with lovely people
Yeah.
who want to connect in one way or another.
And that never happens. It's a once and a career sort of opportunity, right?
It's
to be a
pretty
part
awesome.
of something that means as much to all of us who are making it as it means to an audience out there. That connection, that correlation, like it's such an impossible thing to distill down, and somehow we managed to find it with the show.
6 years. So please share. We look forward to hearing from you and communicating with you. So.
All right.
Let's do it.
So, like we said, our fans, you, are going to be a big part of this podcast. And seeing as we're going to be digging into life together, getting into this new chapter, we thought that our first fan segment, we would like to introduce you to This Is Us fans and newlyweds, Chris and Joanne Lation.
Yeah.
Welcome, guys.
What up, y'all?
How are you? And we have an engagement photo, I think.
Oh my gosh, hold on, sorry. Look at these photos. So the photo on the left is from your engagement. And then obviously the photo
That's
on,
in Dominican Republic.
And he's a man who enjoys his legs, ladies and
I'm
gentlemen.
saying.
We're talking about an engagement and wedding.
You don't work that hard on legs
No, man.
to not wear shorts.
You don't
gotta
skip
show
leg
'em.
day. You got to show him.
Also, a short sleeve shirt with the bow tie on your wedding day is clutch. I love it.
So you guys got engaged in the Dominican Republic, and then where did you get married?
In Cyprus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was
I
amazing.
love it. You guys are big world travelers, huh?
Yeah, we like to get around, don't we?
So, for context, why we're talking today, Chris, I believe you sent in a DM to our That Was Us podcast Instagram, and our producer, Sarah, found the DM, flagged it for all of us. But do you want to kind of give us a little bit more context to the story and the message that you sent and why This Is Us has been a part of your life together and the journey that you've been on?
Obviously, we got engaged in Dominican Republic. That was a special day because it was a year since Joe had sort of had the all clear from cervical cancer. So we wanted to sort of make it really special and got in touch because the show was really very relatable of what she's been through, not just for that, but a few other things. And it's probably the first show we watched together where we were just both.
We actually both because we are very different. Actually. Like we were obsessed with this from like day one. And usually he likes all like the murder documentaries, the things that give me nightmares. I like to watch happy things where I can sleep peacefully.
That's like me and my wife. Yeah, perfect.
I feel that.
So this is the first thing that we were like, oh my gosh, it's perfect. And we both love it. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite strange. It's thanks to my sister, really, because we were down in Cornwall. We were down there one day. My sister said, have you watched this show, This Is Us? And I was like, no, I've never heard of it. And we were sat there. The kids were sleeping because she's got a couple of kids. And we watched, I think she was on.
It was the last episode of season 4.
So we skipped.
She said to us, like, it might be a bit confused. She was like, just go dance. And we watched it. We were just looking at each other like, oh my God, this is amazing.
So we went back to one. So we watched it from the start and we were just like, and at this point, obviously, when we watched the whole thing, Joe wasn't well. So we were both parked on the sofa and she had a box of tissues.
Yeah.
She was already emotional what was going on, but it was like she had the box of tissues on the left hand side. I kept looking at her and some episodes she'd be crying and she'd be like, oh God. And I'd be like, but then there's some really nice parts of it as well. So I think it's very relatable, obviously, because although Joe's doing really well, she's come out the other end of what was hell at the time because it was in the horrible pandemic.
Yes.
Yeah.
And obviously our hope is to have kids. That's what, we love to have kids, but we'd love to adopt as well. So there was a lot of things it was so relatable to us. And we've always loved the show. We tell everyone about it. Have you seen This Is Us? And they all look at us and then they start watching and they were like, oh my God, I watched the first series. It was amazing. And I think the whole workplace, which, believe it or not, is to do with cancers and MND. So that's what I work. So it's all quite weird because I worked in that sector. Joe's experience, with it all was tough, but she's doing really well. But I thought,
I'm fine now.
No better way than to have Mandy Moore's song. And it was a real long shot, but I managed to get in touch, and it was after messaging a million people, but we got it.
Wow.
And you asked if maybe Mandy could send a video message on
Yes.
your wedding
Yeah.
day.
Because you guys, you implied that you wanted to walk down the aisle to the Forever Now, which is a song that my character sings at the very, very, very end of the series.
Yeah.
It's such a touching idea to, be a part of someone's big day like that. I was really, really blown away. And I think we're all so honored that the show has really held such an important place in your life, especially taking you through a really, really challenging period. And we're so happy that the good news of you in good health and celebrating such an exciting chapter of your life together. But we're just psyched that we've been a part of your journey as well.
Absolutely.
What an honor.
I think we have a clip, right?
I just want to see this moment. I want to see Chris's legs.
Not the dress, Chris's legs.
It's not so much the gym. I think it's all the rugby games I've played.
There you go.
There it is.
This is the video.
This is playing the video.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, this is my reaction
How
video.
are you? It's
Yeah.
Mandy Moore. So you are very, very thoughtful. Soon-to-be husband reached out because he said you were a fan and you loved the show. And in fact, you were going to be walking down the aisle very soon to the Forever Now. I am so touched. Have a beautiful day and
Stunned.
just sending you guys both.
She's like, wait, what is that?
Look at that face. And by the way, I was giving your husband all the credit for the gams. This family is all legs.
I know.
This family is all legs.
Oh gosh, yeah. I think I was quite annoyed because it was the time I was trying to get into my dress, and my friends were like, "Sit down, Chris has got a surprise for you." And I was like, "But I want to get dressed, and we're not doing presents. We said we're not doing presents. We better not have got me anything." And so they made me sit down, and I got really suspicious that he'd got me something, and we agreed not to get each other presents, and then I was like, "Oh no, I really didn't get him a present." I suppose I was the present, but
There you go.
Absolutely.
There you go.
yeah. And then I saw that video, and I was just, well, as you could see, there were no words. Yeah.
Can I ask, what was it about the song that made you decide, this is the song to walk down the aisle to?
The one job he had was choosing music, because you're quite good with music, aren't you? And you didn't. I chose most of the rest, so he had music. And then he said, "Oh, what about this song? Because obviously it's really special to us." But the lyric, isn't it? I get this moment with you forever now.
Yeah.
It just seemed so perfect.
It is.
Yeah.
You guys, the first few times that she sang the song, because I don't think I heard it until we were on set.
Oh, yeah.
And you sang it for the first time. I thought something was wrong with me. I couldn't stop. It was like a geyser. And oh goodness, so I can only imagine. You kind of have to get your stuff together so that your photos look halfway decent.
Emotional training.
Because you're already going to be emotional walking down the aisle.
Yes.
Your wedding is typifies all the things that you would be emotional about. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Can we see them walk down the aisle?
Oh, wow. I'm crying. I'm like, weddings always make me cry. Wow, that is so beautiful. Also, that has to be the most incredible looking guest
Right.
wedding party.
Right.
Jeez Louise, you guys. Wow, what a special moment and a beautiful wedding. Your dress was gorgeous. Oh my gosh.
I know.
All the girly things.
One final question. You guys are such big This Is Us fans. Can you tell us what's your dog's name?
Our dog's called Laurel.
After
Yeah.
Randall's.
We got a greyhound, haven't we?
Yeah, she's a rescue greyhound, and when we got the way you guys say Laurel, we just oh, that's so beautiful, because it sounds better than when we say it.
How do you say it?
Laurel.
It's the same thing. What are you talking about?
No, you
It
say
is
it
the
it
accent.
just sounds better when you say it.
That's so funny.
And we were we're calling our first child Laurel. We were that's just decided now, because we just loved it so much. And then we adopted our dog, and she's a she. So we were okay, what are we going to call her? And we were there is only one name, even though she's not like technically our baby. She is our baby.
She's
the first person.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So she got the name.
She got there first. I love
it's
it.
perfect for her. It suits her.
Yeah, that's the Randall's birth mom's name on the show for the people who don't know.
You guys are deep fans. Thank you.
You guys are beautiful people inside and out. I look forward to however your family grows, because we know that it's going to grow, be it biologically, be it through adoption, be it a combination of the two. I'm excited for what life has to offer both of you guys.
Yeah.
You're beautiful. Thank you for sharing your fandom with us and for allowing us to be a part of your lives. I'm truly touched.
Yeah.
So touched.
Keep us updated,
Yeah,
please.
please keep us updated, guys.
We will.
You have been our very first fan segment on this podcast. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Totally
Best place
shocked.
to start.
And,
Also, we love you so much.
It goes both
And
ways.
We love you too.
Yes.
Thank you so much for reaching out and taking the time to chat with us today too. It's been our pleasure.
Anytime.
Have a great day.
That Was Us is filmed at The Crow and produced by Rabbit Grin Productions and Sarah Wareheim. Music by Taylor Goldsmith and Griffin Goldsmith.